So this is a little different, It's not, what do you call, the regular conversation about numbers, number crunching, all of that. We are not doing it. This is a human conversation about marketers, the human beings behind the CMO and the human behind the CMO. We want to understand what they go through, what is their day like, how do they manage, they navigate challenges, it's not easy. We see you sharing insights most often, but we haven't seen the other side. Like us, like all of them, we too have a personal life. How do we balance that? How do we keep fit? How do we manage the people part? So all of that, I think we deliberately kept this panel in this way so we know more about the marketers that are moving the bigger numbers. So let me start with Arvind, let me start with you. Being a marketing leader, having spent time as CMO at many places, let me first begin that how do you define your leadership style? What is effective leadership for you? If I want to understand this first from you.
One word, people. By the people, for the people. For any marketer to be a CMO or even at any level, think about the people within the organization, people outside the organization. People outside the organization are your customers, partners, lot of third parties that you deal with. And then people inside your organization are your employees. Very often you will come across marketers who are not really responsible for the internal reputation management within the organization or responsible for the customer engagement, employee engagement. I think that's where it begins. It is the first step towards being a marketer is to think about people, be a people's man. You cannot be somebody sitting in the corner and trying to drive everything and somebody else is working. That's my 2 cents for.
Of course, a people business. We are in the people business, not in the numbers business, right? Deepika, if I want to ask you the same question, yeah.
I actually would absolutely agree with him. It's irrespective if you are into marketing or not, but it's really about people you work with. And I think what matters is how you get together, how you build a team with different talents coming together, different capabilities coming together to address the need of business. So in fact, when I'm hiring, I always look at different qualities in the team, which are soft skills too, which are very important in marketing because the right brain cannot be numb about this. It's just not numbers. So.
Right. Harsh, every day, so many things to deal with, Harsh, I'm coming to you. Yes, yeah. So many things to deal with. Of course, the people part you heard about. So what keeps the leader, the marketer on top of his game every day? What is that one thing that you would like to share? Like they said, people, they focus on people. So that leaders, marketing leaders need to keep in mind every day. How do you approach your day, for example? Let me ask you like that.
Thanks, Ruhail. I think this is one of the most difficult questions when you ask somebody what leadership means to you and who's a leader. The nostalgia goes very soon. I was at IT Powai with a bunch of very young kids. And the biggest question we asked in that session is, who's a leader? Essentially to me, everybody is a leader, should you choose to be. Situations creates leaders, opportunities creates leaders, risks create leaders. If you're somebody who's risking it before others, you're a leader. And that happens every single day, every time you're doing a decision making. If you're nurturing more than being nurtured, you're of course moving towards a leader. If you are self-sacrificing in terms of achieving a bigger goal for the larger unit, you tend to step into the shoes of a leader. Having said that, I think from my standpoint, one of the biggest things that I really look forward to is how do you add value to every person that you're connecting with as colleagues, as partners, as people outside your ecosystem also. I think that ability to create and add value within the journey is what is very primary to me when I look at it in hindsight as a leader.
Wonderful. Madhur, balancing numbers and people, and you heard the panelists before you, what is your approach on that front?
Sorry, just can you repeat?
Numbers, people, leadership style, how do you look at it as a marketer, as a leader?
So everything is being pretty much stitched to each other, starting from what the other speakers have mentioned about people. Yes, initially as a typical marketer, I've planned a very big answer which makes sense about people, but you clearly summarize it in one word. So having said, all these numbers and everything will start falling in one place when you have a very strong intent-based team. In addition to what Harsh mentioned, the only thing I would say is a person with a vision has a strength and power to become a leader. Someone who understands and has a lot of confidence in what he's been preparing to, and then listen to everyone and keep taking those initial feedbacks from what numbers are showing, what your people are telling you, what data is telling you, what your consumer is telling you. At the end, marketer is also a part of some part of a salesman also. When a salesman is trying to sell you a product, a marketer is selling you an emotion. So we do have to carry. The only additional job we do is to make sure everyone is with us and they believe in us. So in this room, if everyone believes in all of us, we are the good marketers, I would say.
Wonderful. Raj, of course, MakeMyTrip, the success story is not about the great marketing and the great, the campaigns and all of that. It is, of course, it boils down to the leadership. What is that leadership mix that has worked for you and that you have really, practiced all through? If you could share briefly about that.
Sure. Ruhail, the thing is that today marketing is a very, very loose term. I mean, what does a marketer really do? You can get completely lost because there's brand marketing, then there's Google, there's search. I think what's worked for me, and actually what works for me in this role per se as well, is to keep everything on first principles. See, on first principles, we are professionals, and my professional job is to build demand for our offering. Now, when you keep that clear, that the ultimate role of the person who's leading marketing in a company is to finally build demand for the product or the platform or whatever you are selling or whatever you want traffic on. So I think for me what's worked is to always keep it on first principles, because leadership is by the way. You become a leader because of the context, because of circumstances you are in, you learn, but ultimately you're here to do a job. As long as you're clear on that I'm the custodian of consumer in the company, my job is to build demand. I think leadership is by default, and you learn by the way. The context teaches you leadership. The interesting thing about MakeMyTrip is that MakeMyTrip is a leader brand per se. I mean, you will not find a category in which there is such a dominant brand in the category. So I think what I've learned because of that is that how do you not just, how do you just not imbibe leadership as a person, but how do you ensure that your brand, your company, what you do, there was a panel before us talking about ethical marketing. I think that how do you overall depict your brand as a leader versus, yourself as a leader?
Great. Vikram, all yours. Tell us about your leadership mantra, leadership style that has really worked for you.
Okay, to begin with, I think no matter what position you hold, it's very important to understand the essence of the product that your company sells. I come from Bajaj Allianz General Insurance. We sell insurance. Now, unlike a lot of other CMOs that you see here, Lenskart, Chashma Liya, you get an instant product, right? In my field, when I sell a product, it's the insurance that I'm selling. The actual product is the claim. And claim tab hota when something bad happens with someone and you have to be there with them. So if you understand the essence of what you're selling and if you curate your team around that, it'll always give you success. So in our company, a lot of people forget we spend maximum waking hours in an organization, a lot more than what we spend with our family. So we try and at Bajaj Allianz and in the team that I handle, try and create an environment where you want to wake up and come to work. We inculcate these habits in them where they realize that every day that they spend in the company, they are helping millions of people. We're probably one of the only insurance companies with 14 crore customer base. So we know that every waking hour, somebody could have a claim, somebody could have a mishap, and that's when we have to jump in. So if I don't associate with that sentiment, with the tagline which is caringly yours, the team will come in as a transaction, do their job and go back. But for them to be relatable, we try and create an environment where they wake up and they want to come, of course to make money, but that is incidental, but primarily to know that every waking hour that they're spending, they're helping people out there in whichever way possible. So in our line of business, I'm educating people about what all they can claim, what all insurance covers, and hopefully create a world where people wake up and say that apart from Lenskart specs, insurance is also cool, right? So we're trying to create that. So that's the whole motive that we're trying to build in. So
Wonderful. You know, I mean, in our daily lives now, we are inundated with information, and then you have emails, you have messages, you have meetings, and then you have to find that time to innovate, which is critical part of your marketing game. Somewhere the back end will give rise to that great marketing, you know. Amidst all this, Arvind, how do you, I mean, tackle with it on a daily basis and then find that time to innovate and give that, add that secret sauce to that marketing campaign and make it impactful? How do you do that?
Be the first person to wake up. Be the first person.
It's a 5 a.m. club, huh?
Huh?
Okay. I mean, you mean technically like literally wake up early, or it's like the other way, metaphor?
No, I'm saying literally, physically. Be the first person to wake up and try and be proactive in every possible way physically. Leave aside mentally. First, be physically proactive, even if it means you reaching your workplace 15 minutes prior to even the receptionist coming to work. Trust me, it works. That extra 15 minutes of your time before you get surrounded by phone calls, WhatsApp, emails, messages, meetings, calendars, back to back, oh, I have a conflicting meeting. Okay, if you want to get rid of this, take time for yourself, which is, I am an early riser. If some of you understand, Brahmakal, subah ke 3:40 is the time when my day starts. Believe it or not. 3:40 a.m. And I've been a golfer for about close to 15 odd years, so that's another addiction. But trust me, staying away from staying away from the rat race that will begin at 9 o'clock or 9:30, as the situation may be, take out time for yourself. That is the time that you have for yourself. Second thing, first thing that you do, or maybe the initial part of the day, listen. Listen to where your brand is being quoted, either internally or externally, which is the pulse check. These are two basic things that I do. If I can be that 15-minute prior or 15-minute in advance to anybody else walking in, I think that does a lot of wonders to me personally.
Wonderful. That's great. And finding time to wake up at 3:40 a.m. despite all that, I mean, hats off to you.
So, also, to keep things intact, I have a son, I get him ready, I drop him at his football at 5:45, 6 o'clock. I come back, I do my little bit of household chores. Shadi Shuda Insan, Aam Aadmi. So please do that so that you can also maintain a little bit of a balance between the domestic as well as your professional life. So don't negate that.
So essentially you're saying that those hours in the morning when there's least interference are the best hours to innovate. That has worked for you and that's how you do it, practice it. Deepika, what is your story of staying innovative, finding that time beyond those daily, getting caught up in the routine and then really not finding time for that blue sky thinking? How do you manage that? How do you practice that?
So I come from a bit of an artistic background. I was an artist and then I got into design, and while studying design, what I understood also was psychology and how that plays a very significant role on how the society is getting shaped, how culture is getting shaped. And I think I've always stuck to that. Even if I was in a business role, I think it's very important to understand what next. I mean, if you look at COVID, how everybody got into food, and that was a moment. And I at that point of time, I was heading a business in retail where we were selling clothes and shoes. So I need cash flow. Let's start something around a cafe kind of a thing, associate with Zomato, Swiggy, get cash flow going. So very important to get the pulse of the cultural shift that is happening. So I spent time going to galleries, try to spend time on Instagram and now Thread, and don't enjoy it so much, I think, but it's very important for us to view what's going on. I mean, how influencers can be used in a good scenario or can be in a space where there's just enough noise. So I try and learn from that. The other is that I've started talking to young kids in their teens a lot, because they are creating a cultural movement. Like, for example, every kid today in India is talking about Korean influence, be it B-pop or even food. Are you stocking Korean food? So that's one of the things, and I'm sure that's going to play a very big influence. And I've been trying to get a Korean influence in our brand wherever possible. So that's how I keep up, and it's an inspiration. And one day I'll wake up at 3:40. I hope it's this year.
Great. Yeah, I mean, it's like being a hands-on leader, actually going out, not an armchair marketeer. You know, yesterday also I was talking to Mr. Sunil Raina, and he was telling me that he goes out, meets people in person rather than depend on that report that comes to him, which makes all the difference.
Absolutely.
Mr. Harshavardhan, so are you also 3 a.m., 4 a.m.? What is it like for you?
No, Arvind has raised the bar for lifetime, not just for me, for everybody in this room. So we know we can't reach that bar for sure. I'm a natural riser, which means that that's a more decent way of putting it. Like whenever sleep ends, so you can't really put a
That's
time
luxury.
to that. Yeah. So a natural riser will remain a natural riser.
Right.
On that context, I think be sharing like how exactly your day goes about, right? I don't know, and I'll be honest about it. I really do not have a very planned kind of an outlook saying that this is what you would go ahead and achieve. Sounds nice, but I have to be candid here, especially when you're sharing. I think one of my biggest learnings is to be in the present, which essentially means, yes, you will plan out for everything, but having no plan is great too. And that allows you to be open to a lot of things that come your way, which also makes you prone to making mistakes, which is great learning also. And admitting them too is also great. Like one of the learnings that I got today is to, especially, of course, drinking water is great. Everybody should drink a lot of water, but not really good when you're getting late for your session. And that makes you accidentally enter into the women's washroom. So, which I did today morning. So that's how life is, right? You would not really plan for anything. and you would discover and have an experience, but those are the experiences that make you who you are, and it is not about reaching a destination, but I love the fact that I am discovering and I am engaging and I'm creating a lot of things during the journey, and that allows you to not just have your own experiences, but co-curate these beautiful things with a lot of other people, and that's what life or profession would be about for me.
Right. Different approaches, different styles. It's not one size fits all. I mean, everybody has their own style. But one thing critical, I think, which is common is that great marketing is linked with the back-end discipline of the marketer somewhere. They are intertwined, you know. You cannot escape the two. They have an interdependence. Your discipline is your marketing somewhere. Madhur, how do you approach that innovation part in the mix of your daily routine and find time for it?
I'm sure it's gonna be quite different from everyone here. I am also a 3:40 person, but on a different way. So I sleep around 3:44.
Okay.
So that's how it works. But a very simple process which has worked for me, and I'm gonna continue this for the rest of my life, is going to be, I plan my next day in advance. So like I said, team, people, and the surrounding you have should be so robust and such a aligned to your vision. So it's as simple that my job is that if I face and if I'm being feeding something, my habit is writing. I have a WhatsApp group with myself. Whatever I see, I feel could be a use and an idea, I write for myself. And then whenever there's a right time, I know where to go and I send it to my team. That this is what I thought of, this is how I visioned it. And if you can have something to add up, let's do something around it. And rest of the day-to-day work, which you have said, today was is not going to happen today. I'm not going to waste their time and see what happened today. It's already been advancedly prepared and planned, been given to the task team that this is how it's going to happen. If you fail something, issues or something, we can definitely have session, but let me just plan it out for the next. Second, I have never been able to plan innovation by thinking, okay, now this is the time I'm going to think about innovation. It can come anytime, any day, anything you're doing, any idea you got. A very recent example, I spoke to Vikram 15 minutes back. We met for the first time, and I made him mention Lenskart twice in his first session. So my marketing is working pretty well, guys. Yeah. So a senior person like him have mentioned Lenskart twice. So please go check out yourself. Something is really good happening in the brand.
Rishi, sorry, Raj. Yes, Raj Rishi, right. So, yeah, I mean, your mantra of finding time to innovate, reflect, because, I mean, there's so many things to be done. But when do you analyze them? When do you get into that deep end of, you know, am I doing it right, wrong? How do you kind of untangle from the pattern of your daily routine and look at it?
Sure. I think the first thing is slightly broad that...
Mic closer,
sorry.
They want to hear.
First thing is slightly broader that I think no matter what time you wake up, what time you sleep, I mean, the thing is that I've started imbibing actually that time is the most precious resource that I have. I mean, it's the most precious asset. And it's taken me some time to, because initially when you're younger and you have a young family, you keep on thinking that you're juggling balls. And you say, okay, I have to make all balls work. But now I've come to a phase where I think, okay, no, time is the biggest commodity or the biggest asset I have. I have to use it meaningfully. So what I try and do now, and it's quite satisfying, that I don't let anything fall. Like, I'm focused on work, focused on life, focused on family. I train for an Ironman, so I have to take a lot of time out in the week to just train for an Ironman. But nothing seems to give away because what I've realized is you have enough time. We all sleep for 8 hours. The remaining hours we're always on, and if we remain focused then, and to remain focused, there's obviously caffeine hits and all, but it started working for me. So my request to everyone is, I mean, not to this panel, maybe to younger folks, is that try and build the importance of time in your mind, and it'll start paying off. That's number one. Number two is, for me, what really works is that like what you were saying, I think it was brilliant, that as marketeers remain always focused, because you can get consumer nuggets in every interaction. I mean, you're meeting new people, you're talking to someone, that's marketeer's job, to ensure that he understands the consumer well. And personally for me, my long runs are my time when I zone out, and I can think far more clearly about my day, I can think far more clearly about my business. So long run zone outs work brilliantly for me personally.
Wonderful. Vikram?
Okay, firstly, I come from an industry where helping one another is a no-brainer. So if it takes to take names a couple of more times, I'll do that. But what he didn't realize is tomorrow when he's renewing his policy, he'll think about Bajaj Allianz General. So I'm absolutely certain about that. My subtle marketing has worked. Insurance only works on subtle. It can't be the way these guys do, because it'll never work. In my case, honestly, create a team which you don't have to micro, and they work really hard. I travel 15 days a month, and to your point, so I landed at 1:30 last night from Pune. I drive inspiration, innovation by traveling. I meet a lot of people. I love interacting with people. A lot of times what we don't realize is the right innovation is from the pantapris, the cab drivers, the person who's getting your luggage to your room. If you talk to them for 5 minutes, and I kid you not, any city you go to, if you want to know the pulse, newspaper is not the place. Talk to the cab driver. He will or she will tell you so many interesting tales that are happening, that in that 20-30 minute shuttle to the hotel, you know what's the pulse and what really needs to work. Without self-boast, in the last 1 year, I would have traveled a lot. I have converted at least 10 cab drivers to become insurance advisors. Now the beauty is, the more you talk, the detailing, a lot of people say God is in the detailing. I think it is in conversations, because the more you talk, the more you understand the other person's sentiments, what they really want. And when you give them the right solution at that point in time, so if you talk to one, I learned what didn't work with them, I innovated, I spoke to the other guy, and then I try and bring that in my marketing, because as an insurance, my marketing is for cattle, for farmers, for dogs, cats, cyber, health, cars. So I'm catering to the entire universe. And we were having a discussion. What worries me is all of you sitting here, well educated, doing good for yourselves, are all underinsured. And I can guarantee that. That's where my problem is, right? So how do I reach to the masses and tell them that this is the place to be and to be in?
As well, I like it. Great sales pitch, that's a true marketer. Okay, we have 3 minutes, so we'll keep it to maybe 40 seconds, Arvind, starting with you. What is the secret sauce to great marketing? What is the idea? How do you enable great marketing? Sorry.
It's a marketer's curse, and trust me, it's a marketer's curse to cannibalize and destroy his or her own creation that would have earned laurels till yesterday. Destroy it today and recreate a new one. That's the constant innovation and recreation of the same brand, the same messaging in a different flavor. And let's talk about, very quickly, maybe a small campaign that would have won an award at a Businessworld platform, for example. I cannot live with it beyond a certain time. I have to go back, destroy it, create a new one, which is constantly looking for coming up with something new. That's the secret sauce that at least I have seen in a dull, non-glamorous, non-sexy world of technology, B2B space.
Deepika, how do you create impactful marketing? Of course, the same question. What is your, how have you pinned it down to certain steps that, look, these lead to this? What is that? What has worked for you?
I think a very strong balance between data and doing the new, being creative. One of the best examples that if I look at and among the work that we all have done is how MakeMyTrip caught an eye with Ranveer and Alia's campaigns. And I was recently briefing one of my agencies, and so one of the, it was it was perfect for the commercial space and also for the cool Gen Z. I think it just struck that balance and it was beautiful. So I think we have to constantly be innovative but data driven and have staying relevant, right? I mean, you can be in a very premium luxury space. How do you make that happen? How do you reach out to that consumer? And that's where the data helps you understand. But at the same point of time, you constantly have to be creating the new because people don't want to see what has been done. So I think it's that balance that matters, and that's what I try and keep it true to
Balance
myself.
between data and
Yeah.
creativity, right?
Absolutely. Thank you.
Harsh, what makes you feel that this campaign is, wow, that is like, you know, I do believe that this is going to work. How do you get that feeling? What makes you think so?
I think being consumer centric, you don't have to be the marketer, you have to be the consumer always. As I say, we've heard about a lot of these brand names and we've got that validated. I think a lot of this work is really great that we've seen from a lot of the brands coming, especially from a consumer standpoint, and also when you see from a marketer's lens. I generally say that I have one of the most difficult jobs in the world, which is like keeping your wife happy is difficult, but in a grocery business, you have to make sure everybody else's wife is happy. Yeah, because the aisles are not neat, the products are not being kept in a right place. So the ability for a marketer is to step into the shoes of the consumer and say if that's right. So at times you're thinking like a homemaker, at times you're being the homemaker. And I think that's the recipe when you ask me that question, that what makes a great campaign is saying that can you be the consumer? And if you can be the consumer, I think you'll take good decisions for them.
Absolutely. Madhur?
Same.
So what does a great campaign, I mean, how do you curate a great campaign and that really works, that really impacts? How do you build that?
So certainly in Lenskart we have a very profound definition of what campaign means, like what is an objective of this campaign. If we are trying to create a certain category altogether, okay, so the campaign medium is completely different, the approach is going to be completely different because we are not competing with anyone. We are coming up with something which delivers a problem which no one was able to solve. That is the best approach for me when the objective is this one. If the objective is that I have to compete and fight and take a share from someone and give the best solution, then adding that value to the consumer and selling that particular commodity at the right time, understanding the consumer sentiment, market sentiment, product values, our vision, everything should marry each other. So I feel as a company altogether, I won't say it's my alone job, it's as a marketer or as a e-commerce person over there, it's a whole company. We all sit, we figured out that this is something which we see a gap in, and we will take that ownership, we will solve it. It doesn't matter if no one have ever done it, we will find a way, and that's how the company has been doing. If you see, a lot of things we have done have changed in the entire eyewear business. So that was the approach from the day one, and we're going to continue that.
Rishi, Deepika also referred to that campaign. We've also seen, what is the secret to building impactful campaigns according to you, impactful marketing initiatives according to you?
See, I think, first of all, marketing is actually a series of events. You cannot really call out one campaign or one thing to drive it. Like the best example of successful marketing is, maybe I'm going to give you from my past life. Like, I used to handle the cola category in India for PepsiCo. Now if this bottle had only black liquid in it, which was sweet, will the consumers buy that bottle of black colored liquid? The answer is no. When you put a label of Pepsi on it, he pays you almost 3x the cost of goods sold. So I think the way we have to look at long-term value of marketing. Is that how much premium does the consumer pay you for the trust on the brand? So I think, again, it's very difficult to kind of point out what campaign worked, because the consumer himself is, I mean, the consumer also moves on. So marketing, I think, is a series of investment. We as brand marketers or CMOs, we handle a brand at a particular period of time. What you have to assure is that the campaigns you do, the creatives you create are additive in nature and add on to the long-term health of the brand, and they do not talk a story that the consumer does not understand. So I'm going to just take one more minute here. And from a campaign point of view, if you become too performance-led, you say, okay, this is a campaign I've done, this is how the consumer has responded, and this is the money I've got back, I think that's the end of marketing, because you have to see it as a series.
Insightful. Vikram, you earlier spoke about how you speak to people and how it leads to those insights, and how do you marry those insights into a campaign and then not just marry, but then have that impact that you desire?
I'm glad you brought this up. So in insurance is a conversational sale, right? So in many conversations, a lot of people said that pizza 30 minutes deliver ho raha hai, Amazon is delivering in 24 hours. When can we get claims really fast, right? I don't know how many of you know this. Back in the days, if you met with an accident, आपको bumper office ले आके दिखाना पड़ता था कि गाड़ी ठुकी है. From there till a few years back, claims were being settled in days. So when people told us it has to be in minutes, we went to our MD and CEO, Mr. Tapan Singhal, and told him that 24 hours the best we can do. He said it has to be minutes. Today we settle motor claims in 20 minutes. It's called MOTS, note on the spot. So that's why it's important that you communicate, you talk to people, understand their pain points, and specifically in an industry like insurance where people feel that nobody's paying claims and we're just paying premium, it's important to let the world know that 20 minutes flat in your account, and let's say if the amount that is given to you is 11,000 and you go to a garage and the garage guy says 9,000 bucks, car is sorted, 2,000 are for you to keep, have pizza, do what you want to. So we are creating a world where we trust the end consumer, knowing that what they've given to us holds true. Of course, we've backed it up with AI to understand. 22 years in the industry, we have a lot of data to know the kind of damage and the kind of severity it can be. So that's the benefit of communicating, and then not just listening but also implementing it, so that otherwise that conversation is futile. The travel time, this time spent with all of you, if I don't take something from you, imbibe it and create it in my products, then those conversations have no value. So that's how we do that.
Wonderful. So this was the pre-lunch, takeaways for all of you, from 3 a.m. to keeping your day a little open to other things like listening and talking to people. So it's up to you, whatever you choose. So everything works, but one common thread is empathy, I think seeing it from the other side, I think that was really common. But thank you so much, listening to CMOs from a different perspective. Thanks for joining on this panel.